All right, let's go ahead and warm up. Let's stretch out. And roll those shoulders. Good, nice tall chest, and take a deep breath. And sigh. Good, one more. Good, lip trill bottom to top.
Yes,
Go for it. All good.
That's it.
Good. Very good. Excellent. So you felt that it tightened up on the top there, and then you adjusted and learned to relax that out and free it up as you get to the top there. That's the key. And honestly, it's good for you to be in that stage for quite a while because it helps you get used to what the feeling is of turning off the tension. It can actually be not a bad thing, but a less than ideal thing to get really good at that really quick, because then you become more of a natural, and that can be really fun to be a natural. But whenever you have a problem, you don't know how to fix it. If you're not, that's the problem that naturals have. And I've actually worked with a lot of people who would consider themselves natural, saying they didn't have a lot of training and they just had great voices. And the problem is that's great for most of your career, but that like 5% of the time that something goes wrong, you don't know what to do. So if you practice continually going, then you know what it feels like to have tension and then to release it. And that's a much more valuable skill than just never having tension. You know, it's like the couples that know how to deal with a fight as opposed to the couples that just never, like, oh, we never fight. I'm like, okay, well, when you do, it's not going to be a very fun sight because you don't know what to do. You've been married 20 years and never had a fight. You're like, oh, I don't know about that. That's good luck. But the people who know how to have a nice, healthy fight can handle that out really well. So the same thing here. If you can learn how to release that tension, it helps you a lot more. And you're doing it faster every week, which is great. That's every time I see you do that, it just like, it gets quicker and quicker. And that time it was 2 seconds. Just there it is. Nice and easy. Very nice. All right, let's just start with Good. Make that breath quieter. Good. I'm hearing in your sound, it might just be that you're starting with closed vocal cords with a glottal stop. If you say the words "my eyes," versus "my eyes," "my eyes."
My eye.
Yeah, you feel how the throat closes off and clicks there.
Right.
If you start the vowel with that closed off throat, it's called a glottal stop because your glottis is closed. It just gives you this aggressive kind of slap there. I think that's what I'm hearing. It might just also be the quality of the vowel. But if you start with a little bit of warm air moving through before you start the pitch, just a hair, not like ha, you don't want a big obvious H or something. What I've taught a lot of my students is to think of it as a small lowercase h in parentheses, just a little baby H. Instead of Make sense? So put a little bit of an H on there and see if that cleans up the sound. Good. Now this time don't work up to the volume because I got started really small and sort of hesitant and then coming up. Just come in nice and strong, but start it with the flow of air, not with the closed off throat. Good. Taller and warmer. Good. Keep the pitch bright. Tall vowel on that first one. Relax the tongue. Oh. Good, try one more. Beautiful, Nancy. chest on the bottom, don't let it die out. Thank you. Very good. All right, let's get down to that lower stuff. Yeah. Ming, 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 ma. Ming, 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 ma. Get it nice and ringy right up into the top there. Don't let it get too floaty hooty in the heady space. Ming, 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 ma. Ming, 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 ma. When you get down to the bottom there, try to have a nice tall vowel, but keep that front ringy space, because that's the biggest thing you need to work on. Is that you really do a very lovely, tall, beautiful, open tone, classical choral tone, opera tone, that kind of generic, tall, beautiful sound. But you have a trouble with the pitch as it gets lower, especially as it gets lower. As it gets higher, it really is open and free and beautiful. Your high notes sound very lovely. But as you go lower, when you add that depth to the tone, it just tends to droop in pitch. And so keeping it bright is the thing that will probably help the most there, because I don't think it's an ear issue. I don't think it's a thing that you're just like, your ear is not tuning correctly, because I don't hear that in the high notes. If it was an ear issue, it would be all through your range that you wouldn't be singing in tune. But it's less in tune in the lower range than it is in the high range, which tells me it's more of a production thing. So I think if you can bring more of that brightness into the low tone, even if it means that it's really nasal and too bright in the low stuff for a little while, I think that's okay. If you spend a little time doing deep river instead of deep river, like if you're out of tune, the tone is not, if the tone is better but it takes you out of tune, that's not better than a slightly worse tone that's more in tune. Intonation takes priority over the quality of the tone. So the ideal is that you're dead in tune and have a beautiful, tall, open tone. But if the only thing you can do right now is a big, tall, open tone, but it droops a little bit too much on the pitch, or it's in tune the whole time, but it's a little too bright and narrow, that's okay. I'd rather go with that. I usually don't prioritize it that way with choirs, because individual singers singing a little bit out of tune are usually pulled up by the rest of the singers singing in tune around them. And with the accompaniment and the style of singing and whatever, like there's enough going on there that one or two out of tune singers usually just get pulled up by the rest of them, but you don't have other singers you're singing with, you're singing alone. So if you droop a little bit, you're gonna stay drooping the entire time, and the ear of the audience is gonna be drawn to that a lot more than the difference between deep and deep. If you do deep river, my home is over Jordan, still sounds fine, right? But if I do deep river, my home is over Jordan, it's like, yeah, the tone is taller, but it just doesn't sound that good because it's drooping in and out of tune the entire time, So you're nowhere near that bad. I'm overemphasizing that in order to, yeah, exactly. And you know that. Like, I have to make it more obvious, because if it was obvious enough for you to notice, you would have noticed it and you would have fixed it by now. So the fact that it's still happening means it's subtle enough that you're not picking up on it. So, good. So ming, 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 ma. Nice and ringy on that bottom note, but try to keep it tall so you can work on bright while tall. Ming, 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 ma. 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 Oh. Good. That was a really nice sound. Thank you. That was very good. Now let's see if we can free it up and lighten it up as we go to the high stuff. Same one we always start with. Ha, 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 ha. Nice and light and bouncy. Float up into that head voice as soon as you can. Ready? Ha, 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 ha. tightness up there in the high range. I mean, you've been singing a little bit more today than you usually do when you come to me. So it might just be that that's a little bit overused from just the morning, rehearsal and all that stuff.
I felt myself tense.
Yeah, you can feel it, and it might just be not enough sleep, whatever. Like, it doesn't, that doesn't sound like a technical thing to me. That just sounds more like a stamina. You weren't sleeping enough. You didn't get enough water. Like there's some tightness there, but I don't think it's a thing. It may open up a bit more as we sing together. But that was about the A flat was where that started to tighten up there. Normally we get to the A without a lot of problems. So, but it's not that much of a difference. It's not like you're losing it at like an E or an F where it would be more of a concern. If you lose a half step here and there, I mean, that's just variation from the day because our instruments are not consistent. They're not made of metal or wood or plastic or something that stays a little bit more consistent. They are much more variable by the day and the biology. Good though. It was nice and free in the middle sections a little bit more, which was good. That you have a tendency to open up a lot more as you get to the high notes there, and that just as it goes faster, that starts to go away a little bit more. So as we do the slower stuff, then you really tend to blossom as you get over the bridge in the middle and really blossom into that open stuff. So one of our goals long term is to get that to the point where you don't need as much time to open up that space up there, and you can just do it immediately. Just have it nice and open and free, even if you're bouncing around really agile and fast. And it may be that it never quite gets that fast because, again, the demographics, the age of the instrument, all that stuff can affect it. And so there's only so much agility you're going to get. You're probably not going to be doing the like super crazy running riff, really fast notes that like someone like a Christina Aguilera or Whitney Houston, whatever, kind of does. And I mean, I can't do those either. I just don't have that agility in my voice. But you might have had it when you were younger, and maybe it's just not there. So we'll keep working up to that and see how much agility we can get out of you. But I do think there's more to get than what you have right now, and that's nice because it does sound really beautiful when you take your time up there. It really does. You have some lovely high notes. Let's get back up there and do. I love to sing. I love to sing. I love to sing. Good. Push that air through one continuous line. I love to sing. 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 Good. Open it up. I love to sing. 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 That was really nice. Good job. I love to beautiful. I love to sing. Oh. Yeah, those last couple right before the last one, the E flat and the D flat sounded really, really nice. You're opening and really getting some freedom there, which was nice. And we got all the way up to the A, and it sounded good. It's a little bit of tension in there as we get to the tip top, but again, that's very common. We'll continue to work on that and try to free it up. But realistically, the top note that comes out of your voice is always going to be a little bit tight because there's always going to be some note that you can get a little bit higher if you don't sing it as beautifully, And so it's like there's the highest note you can sing beautifully, and then there's the highest note that comes out of your vocal cords, and those might be different notes. One of my coaches used to say that there's a difference between the highest note you can sing and the highest note you can hit. So it's like, there's a difference between hitting a note and singing a note. So we want to focus on the notes we can sing, and then sometimes you hit the notes in the warm-ups and you go, okay, that's neat that we can touch that, but we're not going to worry about that in actual song repertoire. Good. Do one more vowel for me.
Okay.
E, A, O. And again, focus on the height in the vowel, but also the brightness and ringiness in the front. Don't let it get too hooty, too molassesy, too dark. E, A, O. E, A, can relax those middle vowels a little bit more. I got a little bit of tightness and a little bit of straight tone in there. I think, again, there might just be some phlegm, some allergies, something, affecting the chords, because it does sound like it might just be the physical chords themselves, not your technique. But that's kind of what I'm hearing, is those middle notes are just tightening up a little bit. So try to keep them nice and open and free. Good, one more. Good, do that one more time for me. Thank you. Yeah, so it might be a tongue tension thing. I hear a little bit of that in there too. So we've been working on that for a while. So you might try, we've done the last couple of weeks, the tongue resting on the bottom thing, and the actually physically holding the tongue thing. That can be helpful too. And try doing that exercise with the tongue. Let's try that once, just right there. So see if you can shape your vowels without letting your tongue move too much. So you're not overly shaping the vowels there. Notice that I'm not really making too much of the vowels. I'm just moving as much as I can without making my tongue move too much. The E and the A and the transition to the A do require motion in the tongue, but it's more the back of the tongue than the front. It's how high it is, not how pulled back it is. So if you watch me, yeah, you can see that how far my tongue is from the roof of my mouth changes on those first three vowels, but it doesn't change how far back it goes in my throat. You see that the tongue is dropping, but it's not pulling back. And that's what I feel, is that as your tongue adjusts for the vowels, it's also tugging back. And that's what's causing that. If you can relax it, you get a much more open, more relaxed sound. So try that once. It's a weird one, so don't worry if it doesn't go right. That's okay. Try the last time. Now try to bring your tongue back. Do the normal vowels. Keep it as relaxed as you can, as loose and open and free. Yeah, so maybe play with that at home. That might be helpful. There's always improvement to be made, but sometimes, and your vowels have come a long way since we started working together. I'm very happy with the improvement in your sound. At a certain point, some things become a diminishing returns thing, so we might have gotten 95% of the progress we're going to make, and it might just be that you need to do hours and hours of work to make the vowels 2% better, and it might just not be worth it. We might want to work on something else instead, because they sound fine. It's just there's still something in my ear that just there's a little bit of tongue tightness there, and it might take you a year to get over that. And that's it's the same thing with physical stuff. If you're doing yoga, if you're doing, if you're lifting, if you're running marathons and stuff. Sometimes it takes 2 years of training to get 4 seconds off your marathon time. So it's if it's worth it to you to make the most beautiful sound possible, then keep working on that. But it might mean that you have to work on it 3 days a week for the next 2 years, and that just might not be worth it just to make your vowel sound a little bit better. So the tongue tension thing will affect pretty much everything else. So it generally is worth it to work on that, but it's not overly tight. It's just I'm hearing that there's some tightness in there. So I think it would help, but there may be other things that are